Good evening. Police officers in Hampshire are to be given special hoods to protect them from infectious diseases, including hepatitis C. Since April last year, there have been more than 400 assaults involving officers being spat at, putting them at risk. Here's Martin Dowse.
A police officer demonstrates for us how the single-use spit guard works.
So it's brought to the front here, so there's a slight V here, so it gives us sort of bit of a void. So it's quite easy to breathe. I can see you quite clearly, I can hear you, and I could follow instructions that were given to me by a police officer. 17
of the UK's police forces now have them. Hampshire was already using them in custody suites. Now they and the Thames Valley Force have jointly announced they'll be part of every frontline officer's kit.
What we've seen recently is an increase in the incidents where officers and public and other emergency services personnel have been subjected to assault by spitting, and on occasions that has involved blood, and that puts officers at risk, but also it's just a disgusting and vile act, and the evidence would suggest that this is the best thing we can do to protect our officers and the public from being spat at.
Frontline staff in any uniformed role can find themselves the target for spitting. This footage captured the moment a bus driver in Bournemouth took action against a drunk man who spat on him as he boarded his bus. Police officers say spitting attacks on them are increasing, but the use of guards or hoods has been criticised. Campaign group Liberty called them cruel and degrading, and there are fears they could cause panic attacks in vulnerable people with mental health issues.
If you don't spit at the police, you won't have to wear one. So it's really simple. This equipment will help to protect them against some nasty diseases and the concern that's been raised by so many of those officers. So yes, absolutely, I welcome it.
Hampshire and Thames Valley say that every officer will be fully trained in the spit guard's use, and that anyone with one on would always be properly monitored and never left unattended. Martin Dowse, ITV News.
The leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, has accused the government of doing a secret deal with Surrey County Council over social care. It comes after the council decided to abolish plans for a 15% rise in council tax. With more details, here's Phil Hornby.
To the government's enormous relief, Surrey councillors backed off from the referendum at their budget-setting meeting yesterday, deciding to put council tax up by just under 5% instead. They said the government were aware of their problems. They certainly were, if Jeremy Corbyn's got it right. He ambushed Theresa May and the Commons with leaked text messages, which he said were sent from council leader David Hodge to a government official. It seems Mr Hodge was texting the wrong person, who then passed the messages on to the Labour leader, including this.
The numbers you indicated are the numbers that I understand are acceptable for me to accept and call off the R.
R for referendum, presumably.
Really want to kill this off. So how much did the government offer Surrey to kill this off? And is the same sweetheart deal on offer to every council facing the social care crisis created by her government?
The two government ministers at the centre of the row over social care, the Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt and the Chancellor on the right here, Philip Hammond, just happen to be Surrey MPs, which makes these allegations doubly embarrassing for the Prime Minister. Tonight, from Number 10 and from Surrey County Council, strong denials that any special deal was done, but no real explanation of what those text messages meant. Phil Hornby, ITV News, Westminster.
Well, tonight there is slightly more clarification. It appears that Surrey will take part in various schemes next year, including a pilot, which means they can keep the receipts from business rates and spend it on social care. Now, the RMT Rail Union is planning talks next week with Southern Rail in the long-running dispute over driver-only trains. But there's a warning of more strikes to come unless the company meets demands for a guard on every train. Here's our transport correspondent, Mike Pearce.
Well, the RMT is saying fair and square tonight that if it meets Southern next week, and the plan is to meet on Tuesday, it will insist on a second member of staff, a second guard on every single train. They say that is the bottom line. That's what they will do a deal on and nothing else. And as things stand, Southern have always said that would not be the case. They say if there's a problem, if a guard is delayed because of disruptions, they always want the option of running a train just with the driver. That's what the dispute is all about. rollout, and that's why it appears there is unlikely to be a settlement and there could be more strikes called. Well, earlier we caught up with one of the senior executives from the RMT.
And we're going to make quite simple demands. We want a second safety critical person guaranteed on that train, or the dispute continues, and we will be talking to our reps and members to see what more action that they want put on.
Could that be strikes?
Of course.
What then can now happen to solve this?
Well, the government have to have a rethink. We're not bound by any deal that any other union done. We need to be at that negotiating table, and we need the promise of a second safety critical person on every train.
Well, meanwhile, the RMT is also saying that if other train operators, and that could be southeastern or southwest trains, as expected, may well introduce more driver-only operations, it will oppose that as well. It says there will be a massive campaign. It's talking about a summer of disruption if train companies go ahead with proposals that would mean more driver-only operation. I think they really are saying tonight they will fight this tooth and nail right across the region, up and down the country. So as things stand, there could well be more industrial action in the weeks and months to come.
Mike Pearce reporting there. Now, the story of 5-year-old Asher King highlighted the lengths some parents will go to get proton beam therapy for their children. Currently, it's not available on the NHS here, but if children meet the criteria, the NHS will fund them to travel abroad. One of the most recent cases is 12-year-old Sean Bull from Winchester. His family have agreed to film his treatment, as Christine Alsford reports.
He might look like he's having the time of his life, but there's only one reason 12-year-old Sean Bull has made the 4,000-mile journey across the Atlantic from his home in Winchester. And that's to receive pioneering proton beam therapy for a tumour on his spine, treatment not yet available in the UK.
It's a huge risk, but there again we haven't probably got another option. If it can offer Sean a good, healthy, normal life, then that's a risk worth taking.
Funded by the NHS, Sean and his parents have travelled to Oklahoma for 10 weeks, referred by experts from Southampton. As well as all the preparations, there's plenty of explanation for Sean too.
An X-ray, well, it just goes right through you, like you're just made of air. But we don't want to treat all the way through you. We want to just treat where the tumor is, right?
Experts say conventional radiotherapy is a bit like throwing small balls at a big, thick jelly. After they hit the tumour, they can carry on and damage other tissue as they pass through. But protons don't travel as far and release a sudden burst of destructive energy as they stop.
The way that they can stop the beam going through so it doesn't do any more damage to Sean is, it's incredible.
Sean was diagnosed with cancer 10 years ago. With surgery ruled out, chemotherapy worked for a while until Sean grew into adolescence and the tumour grew too.
You feel a bit anxious about what might happen, or what?
Sometimes, because sometimes you don't really know what's going to happen or what's going to happen next.
You wish it was you, and you would put yourself there any minute of every day. He is so inspiring, Sean. He just takes everything in his stride. He has given us the strength to cope with it.
The Bull family want to share their proton experiences to allay the fears of other families facing the prospect of a similar trip. The only physical signs of treatment heal within weeks, but it will be 3 months before doctors know how successful it's been. Yet it's now a waiting game filled with hope.
Such an incredible boy, and tomorrow we find out whether that treatment has worked. Everything is crossed. Now let's get the weather details from Simon.
From sleet to the slopes, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Good evening and brace yourself for a cold few days. Temperatures today were down on yesterday. Tomorrow they'll be even colder, and there'll be a fair bit of cloud knocking around as well, with the risk of 1 or 2 showers that, yes, could turn wintry as the week goes on. Basically, we've got high pressure up to the northeast of us. That's keeping the low pressure systems, all of that lovely mild air, way out to the west. So we've got a drain of cold air coming straight from Europe, and temperatures by day are going to struggle to get above 2 or 3 degrees. Certainly tonight it's nippy as well. This blue is a widespread frost. We've also got the risk of some icy patches if we've got untreated surfaces where we saw showers earlier on today. Temperatures widely down to around freezing, a little bit below in some rural spots too. So there will be a frost to deal with on the windscreen tomorrow morning, and it will be a cold start to a fairly cold day. A lot of cloud sitting on top of us. There is a chance of seeing a few bright spells here and there. Equally, there could be an odd shower too. But look at those temperatures, 2 or 3 degrees for some of us. It's down towards the coast where the breeze is that little bit stronger, where we'll get highs of around 4 or 5. But because that wind is coming from the northeast, it really isn't going to feel warm.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And on that chilly note, that is all from us, from all the team. Good night.